because that was not, I didn't like the way that looked. So anyway, I'm going to stop fiddling with stuff because it's not going to be perfect. So anyway, um, hey, welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. This is a special edition because I have our oldest son here with us. So I wanted to do a Wind Down Wednesday this week in honor of World Pride Month, and discuss with him how it was for him to grow up as a LGBTQ young man in a same-sex household, and also me growing up as LGBTQ in a heterosexual household. So just a little, okay, we'll move it back. So, just a little background. I came out I was outed. Let's start there. I was outed in my first relationship when I was probably in my early 20s. So I didn't have a chance to come out the way that I wanted to. I was actually seen by a family member out with my girlfriend. And they called my mom and was like, yeah, I saw Treya out, and she was out with this girl that looked like a guy. It's like, okay, just tell all my business. Let me be the one to, come out. So that was my coming out story. Your coming out story was what? You remember how old you were when you came out?
No.
You were 14 when you came out.
I was a junior.
No, you were still in. You weren't in high. You were in middle school. In ninth grade, getting ready to go to 10th grade.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I remember one of my old friends.
Speak up so they can hear you.
I remember one of my old friends. They came over for a sleepover, and I went to school the next day, and someone told me that they went through my stuff and seen like some stuff on my PlayStation Portable, and it's just like a rumor, and they were like I should fight him for it, and I was like, well, that's not me, so I'm not gonna fight someone for doing that. But I guess you could say I was outed. But then I guess sophomore year, I was curious, and then junior year, I said, you know what, this is me. So.
Yeah, but when you came out to me, you were 14, and I remember you came in my bedroom, and you were like, "Can I talk to you?" I was like, "Sure." And at that time, you weren't sure what your label was. So at that time, he said, I think I might be bisexual. And I said, well, what makes you think that? He said, because I like guys and girls. So just him being able to come out at that age and have that conversation with me, even though I was in a same-sex relationship and identified as lesbian years before then, it was not shocking because as a mom, we kind of know. But still, it wasn't a conversation I was ready to have with him. But I'm glad that he was comfortable enough to come and have that conversation. So he came out at 14. I was outed in my 20s. So I wrote down a couple of questions. So did growing up in a same-sex household make it easier for you to come out?
No, not really. Well, yeah, it did.
Mm-hmm.
It made it more, I guess you could say,
Comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
It made it more comfortable for me to come out versus easy. Sorry, I'm trying to put this up here.
Okay, he's trying to get his phone set up for his
What's my
Instagram.
case?
Is in your room. So I'm going to hold his right here. So for me, I grew up, like I said, in a heterosexual household where there were no gay women that I knew of. The only conversations that I heard about gay women were from eavesdropping on my mom and her friends who were actually her co-workers, eavesdropping on them, making comments about the bull daggers in the bathroom. So hearing that as a young girl who was, at that time, I'm not going to say I was questioning who I was, because at that time, I realized that I like girls when I was probably like 6 or 7. My first crush was actually one of my mom's really good friends. So for people who say, kids that young don't realize what they want or who they are, I beg to differ. At that age, I absolutely knew that I was attracted to females. I just didn't know what it was called. I knew based on conversations that were had in my household that it wasn't something that was looked upon kindly. Like I said, I heard negative comments about the gay women going in the bathroom and being called bulldaggers and just things like that. So it kind of put me in a place of I don't want to be called anything negative by anybody in my family because I don't want them to look at me in a negative light. So it took me until I was a mom of 2 and in my 20s before I realized or accepted who I was. When I did realize that, when I got older and I left and I went to the Navy, I was away from home, I was away from friends, family, and I was away from judgment. So even being in the military, and this was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I still dated women. Of course, nobody knew. I almost got outed by a young lady who called my room. And I had a room with my best friend Lisa, who lives in Hawaii, and then our friend Enid, who has unfortunately passed on. This young lady was calling and blowing up the phone and blowing up the phone. And then when I came in the room with my boyfriend, Lisa's like, I need to talk to you. This chick keeps calling, blowing up the phone like she's your man. What's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. So even coming home from that, I still wasn't comfortable enough to identify with anything. I hid who I was for a long time because there was no one that I felt comfortable enough with to have that conversation. So it was difficult for me to come out. But then as I look back on my life and people that were in my life, I got to a point where I was like, this is my life, and I can't live my life based on what other people think I should be doing or who other people think I should be with. So at like 24, no, I had always dealt with women, but after I had my youngest son, who is now 22, I made the decision to just strictly be who I was, and it was a black gay female. And since then, my life has been great. I haven't had to hide who I was. So how has your life been as a young black gay male?
It's weird because in the black community, people fall into the stereotype and think that all men should just be masculine and that all men should just have no femininity whatsoever. Meanwhile, feminine and masculine energy is all divine. So dealing with that and having to deal with people who I don't know, I just have to deal with people who never had the opportunity to ask a gay black male about their life instead of ostracizing them because they've grown up with people who probably ostracized it in their family.
Yep.
So they haven't had the opportunity to like ask questions. But for me, I know it was I wouldn't say it was like I mean of course I've had people in high school like bully or like say things, but it wasn't to the point where it would make me be suicidal or something. It wasn't to the point of that. It was just like I didn't know what I was when they would see something in me that I wouldn't see in myself until years later. But it wasn't hard to identify with it. It was hard to understand what it was and where it came from. And I guess still to the day, people don't know where it comes from. People say it's genetic. People say it comes from DNA. It can be outside energy.
Or trauma.
I learned not to question where it comes from. I learned to embrace it, and ever since then, I've been happy. Like I've never been scared to not be myself. I've always been an individual.
with your own mind.
Yeah.
Yep. So what are your pronouns?
He, him, they, she, her. Like if I'm around a lot of my friends, like gay friends, we call each other her, she, him, they. I do all the pronouns.
So you're multi-pronoun.
Yeah. And I tell people that in my therapy group too. They're
Okay.
like, what's the pronouns? I say he, him, they, them, she. They always laugh, but that's.
Well, the feminine part of that is news to me because I never knew that was one of your pronouns. So now I know, and I can address you, or we can address you as such. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So my pronouns are she, her, and us, and they. So those are my pronouns. Were you fearful of coming out? And he's going to get to ask me questions, but this is just my line of question.
Was I fearful of coming out?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't fearful. I was worried.
About?
I was worried about the response that people would think. But it was more so, am I still gonna have friends after this, or certain family members gonna be cool or comfortable with me? But I've learned that the more you be yourself, the more of the right people will come into your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned to embrace it, and more of the right people came into my life. I wasn't scared. I was more worried about it. And with that worry, of course, I tried to like suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say scared. I would say I was scared.
Just worried about other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Which brings me to this point. Even though he came out to me at a young age, and some family members knew, like immediate family members, like my mom and my sister. It's never been anything hidden, but he didn't have a grand coming out the closet, coming out with Diana Ross playing in the background event because it wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed. The people who were closest to him, who he could lean on when he had questions or doubt or felt afraid, when he was ready to have that conversation with other people, that was his right to have that conversation with other people. Thinking back, I don't recall anybody ever coming to me asking me. Actually, no, I take that back. I did have a family member who came to me and asked me, when was he going to bring home a girlfriend? I said, he's not going to bring home a girlfriend. He's not interested in females. Oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and pray for him. Add me to the list. I said, actually, don't pray for my child because you want to pray for him because you feel like he's doing something wrong. Let's not forget, your child is also gay. Okay, so let's not do that. Don't pray for my child because you're not praying for him because you love him. You're praying for him because you think you're curing him of something. And he doesn't need that. I'm sorry. So I'm not going to go on a rant about that. But what are your questions? For me. Or for us?
Well, what grade were you in when you first discovered it?
When I first discovered that I was attracted to females, I was in elementary school. So I was 6, so I was in the second grade because I got skipped a grade. So I was in the second grade when I thought that I liked girls. So going through elementary school and middle school and high school was difficult for me because, again, I didn't feel like I had anybody that I could have that conversation with. Being a middle child, I had middle child syndrome. So a lot of times things that I thought I kept to myself because the attention was always focused on the oldest child or the youngest child. And, it was just me thinking to myself of, I can't tell anybody this. And then to add to that, I was like an honor roll straight A student and I didn't want to scar that image that my parents had of me. So second grade is when I came out, to answer your questions.
When you came out or when you figured
No,
out?
Second grade is when I figured out that I liked girls. And when I came out and accepted who I was in my 20s. But again, I didn't get a chance to come out. I was outed. and that was not a good situation of being outed, because I didn't have anyone then still coming to me asking me questions. There were just a lot of assumptions, a lot of negative energy, so much so that I just kind of isolated myself. I just kind of was like, you know what? This is me. If you can't accept me, then you can't accept being around me. You don't deserve my presence. So I'm going to remove myself. And then at that point, me and your grandmother and your grandfather and other family members, we kind of just were distant, because I felt like I had done so much in my life. I had gave birth to two children. I had served this country. I had been, a strong member of my family. I deserve to be happy, and I deserve to live my life the way that I see fit. So I think when I came out and identified as bisexual, I was 19. When I accepted the fact that I was a full gay female, I was 22. But at that time, I was dealing with someone, and I got pregnant with Dante. But after I had Dante, even before I had Dante, but it was a done deal for me. Like, I deserve to be happy. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live my truth, and I'm going to do what makes me happy. The one thing that I do regret is not having a conversation, an age-appropriate conversation with you guys about my sexuality, because I didn't have that conversation with you guys. You weren't prepared to receive energy that was given to you by older people in our family, in our immediate family. So I remember you coming home and you said, "Oh, that's nasty." When me and Tasha were together, we were in the bed.
I said that.
Yeah, because it wasn't because, it wasn't because that's how you felt. It was because you heard somebody, an adult, say that, and when you came home and we were asleep, we were actually just laying in the bed watching TV, and you got on the bed and you were like, "Mommy, move over." I move over, and so you tried to move me and her apart, and I said, "What are you doing?" And you said, "Move, that's nasty." And I said, what did you say?" And you told me who said it. I'm not going to repeat it. You said the name of the person who said it, and you said, "They said that was nasty, Mommy." And I lost it, because what you don't do is talk about, huh?
I don't remember that.
I mean, I wouldn't expect you to. You were young, but that's my whole point. Is I wish that I would have had that conversation with you guys, so you guys would have known who I was, and I could have told you how to react to that. Like, if you have somebody that comes up to you and says something about your mother, tell them, "Go talk to my mommy." But again, being at your age, I think you were like 5 or 6. That's absolutely not even a conversation that should have been had around you. But yes, we were living in DC, Nene. You're right. That's not even a conversation that should have been had around you, but the conversation was had. But what I regret again is not preparing you and your brother for that. So when that was said to you, or when things were said about me, unkind things around you, you wouldn't feel a certain type of way, or feel as though you had to defend me or protect this person because of their role in your life. So if that's the one regret I have, that's the one regret I have.
I do not. Wow.
You were young. You were, like I said, you were in elementary school. You were probably like 5 or 6 years old.
Wow.
But it's okay. If you live and you learn. So if if there's people out there that are gay or lesbian, LGBTQ plus, and have young children, and this is a part of hot take, and this is the part of your life that you have fully accepted, and you have young children at home, I would just ask you to have an age appropriate conversation with them, so they're not embarrassed about who you are, or your lifestyle, or feel as though that, when people do make comments about, "Oh, your mom is nasty," that, not that they have to defend you, but they can say, "My mom is not nasty." And you can go talk to my mom if you have a problem. My youngest son, who just jumped on here, I remember him being in middle school, and my ex, who I was with at the time, went to go pick him up to take him to a doctor's appointment. and his class was right by the front office, and one of the kids in his class was teasing him because my ex, who was a dom, went to go pick him up, and they said something about your mommy daddy is here or something, or your mom is here, and he was like, that's not my mother. And she got upset with me because that's how he reacted. But at that time, he was in middle school, the core point in their lives where they are cultivating social relationships and they are coming into who they are. So even though he was never ashamed of us, and we, had conversations with him about same sex, he still wasn't comfortable enough around his friends to accept that. You know what I'm saying? But again, I feel like had we had that conversation, or I had that conversation with them when they were younger, it would have prepared him a little bit more to deal with the criticism and his friends ostracizing him.
A lot I do not remember. Wow. Okay.
Any other questions? Tates, I see you on here. You have questions since you can't be on the video.
Oh, so were you alive in the 80s, of course?
Of course I was alive in the 80s. In the 70s, baby.
When the whole HIV thing broke out, how did it affect women, like gay women versus gay men?
So I can't speak on that because I wasn't out. When it came out, like, even though it started in the 80s, I think it really hit like the black community, the black female community. Heterosexual women were on the cover of Essence magazine because they were testing positive for HIV, HIV and AIDS. So then it went back to the DL conversation. So I don't know how it affected gay women because I wasn't out then. I know. I think Umi would maybe be a better person to have that conversation with because that was during the time where she was out in the clubs, and so she may know some people that were impacted by that. I only know realistically one individual that has died from HIV/AIDS, and she was a straight woman who was messing with a man who was on the down low. And she lost her life because she trusted him. They were in a long-term relationship, and it was somebody she trusted. But to go back to answer your question, I don't know. I can't comment on that because I was not out. That wasn't part of my life then. Anything else?
But would you? Or how did your sibling? How did your sibling react to you?
Uncle Greg. He was just like, oh, okay. Aunt Nikki, I think Aunt Nikki had a harder time adjusting to it for whatever reason. It just was a little bit difficult for her to accept. Not because she didn't love me as her sister, but I think it was a worry of what are people going to say. And honestly, I don't know if she was more so worried about what people were going to say about me or what people were going to say about her. But, how the conversation... The funny thing, this is how the conversation came up. So we were talking about people that we had sex with. And so we would say a letter, and if you had sex with somebody whose name started with that letter, you had to say their name. So she said the letter, and so I said the name, and she was like, wait, that's a girl's name. It's like, yeah. She's like, what? You had sex with a girl? It's like, yeah, I've been dealing with girls for a while. Okay, so Umi responded to your question. So Dante's laughing. So that's how it came out with her. So it came out when she was younger, but I think as she got older, and different aspects started coming into her life, it became it caused turmoil with us. So that was unfortunate. But we did, get back together and rebuild our sister relationship. So So yeah, but Umi responded and she said we felt like we were safe, and this was in response to his question about HIV and AIDS and how it affected the lesbian community. We felt like we were safe until we realized that other women we thought were gay were bisexual. So that did cause them to worry a bit. So that brings up the conversation about bisexuality. Because I did identify at a point in my life as bisexual, I found that gay women looked at me as no, I don't deal with bisexual women because y'all dishonest, y'all sleep with men and women and y'all don't tell the truth. And granted, there, when I did identify as bisexual, I knew a lot of bisexual women who had husbands, who had boyfriends, but they were still dealing with women. I, on the other hand, identified as bisexual, and I identified as that because that's what I was at the time. But at no time did I have a hidden relationship with a guy and a girl at the same time. Honestly, I didn't have a relationship with a female and a male at the same time. If I was dealing with him, I dealt with him. If I was dealing with her, I dealt with her. There was no mixing. There was no threesomes. There was none of that. Strictly because you're not going to benefit from my sexuality just because you think it's cool. You know, this is me. This is who I am. It's not a joke. It's not a game. And I have to protect myself because clearly you're not out to protect me. You're just trying to have fun. So, yeah.
Nothing else coming to my mind.
Nothing else comes to mind. Okay. Dante, why are you laughing? Dante, do you have questions? My other son is on the Instagram laughing. And my niece is commenting. So anyway, so we see we got a couple of people. He's on his live. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah. So just in honor of World Pride Month, I did kind of want to have, just a conversation about, about being gay. One thing that I have never hidden about who I am as a life coach, as a professional in the field that I am in outside of this. I'm married, and people will see my ring and go, "Oh, your husband did good." No, my wife. That's my wife. I'm not married to a man. I have my wife and I's wedding pictures on my desk. I am not ashamed or embarrassed of who I am. I'm glad that my son is not ashamed or embarrassed of who he is. My wife is not ashamed or embarrassed of who she is. Our other son is not ashamed or embarrassed of who he is. I've raised my children to be able to understand, and accept, who they are. And everybody's not going to agree with you, whether you're straight or whatever. Everybody's not going to agree with who you date, who you marry, where you live, how big your house is, how little your house is. At the end of the day, you have to be happy and you have to live in your truth. So I'm just glad that you're able to live your truth.
I mean, it's not. Well, it's the only downside about it is that, and Dante had a question, but I'll get to it. The only downside about it is that men accept lesbians more than they do gay men, and it's like a weird sexual thing with that.
Come this way, 'cause you're out of media.
It's a weird sexual thing with that, which don't make sense to me. But I don't know. I just try not to question what other people think. I just always go with the analogy that if someone has an issue with you, it's only with them and not you. Yeah. So just don't pay attention to that. And I noticed that when people, like at work, when I first got to work, like two of the coworkers told me, they was like, "Oh, look at this fairy." But then we became cool because I guess people say I'm the cool one, and I mean that means that I'm not prancing around.
You're not threatening.
Right, I'm not threatening to their masculinity, and that does play a role in how they talk to me and treat me. And a lot of times, some of them do treat me like women, like they'll flirt with me and say little slick stuff. But it's
the women or the guys?
The guys. The women flirt with me too, but it's just how we talk. But I don't think like, oh, they don't know. I don't think that. I just That's just how we conversate, and that's what.
Well, straight men don't really flirt with gay men.
That's what they say. They'll. It would be like a joking thing, like if another,
tell us a joke that they would say to you.
like if I walk in and one of them be like, "Oh yeah, he was looking for you," and then like stuff
Okay.
like that.
All
It's
right.
not like
So they're not joking. I got you. Okay. All right.
it's not like flirt like, "Oh, I want to do this." Like no, it's like, "Oh, he was looking for you," and then like I'll say something because we have that. Because that door was open for me, I am able to say other things like, "Oh, really? So what time we?" And then we will laugh, and then that's just how we conversate. It's not like
It's just a joking thing. Like, oh, he was looking for you to go, oh, hey, boo, how you doing?
Yeah,
Okay. Do they get up? Does the other guy get upset or he just laugh it off?
they laugh at all,
Okay.
and they're just comfortable with me like that.
Okay. So your little brother had Dante. I'm not gonna call him your little brother. Dante had a question. How was it for you having a little brother and coming out?
I didn't want my little brother to be part of the LGBT community.
No, how was it coming
No, I'm
out
saying,
for you coming out to him?
He said how was it having a little brother and me coming out.
Yeah.
So this is my story.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't want him to be part of the community because of what people think about black gay men. It don't matter if you bi, gay, whatever. They just think, oh, if a black guy is bi, he's just gay.
Right.
But it was more so. I mean, it wasn't.
Did you think about him when you were coming out? Like, oh, I have to hide this because I don't want to.
No.
No.
I used to wake up in the middle of the night listening to Nicki Minaj and acting out her music videos. Of course, he knew. Like we slept in the same room. Like he's seen he's seen everything.
He's seen your transition.
Right. So I wasn't hiding anything from him. It was just more so. How are people going to talk to him knowing that he has an older gay brother? But when he got to high school, he was a freshman, I was a senior. All his friends were cool with me.
Yes.
And like every freshman that knew him, that they knew me, and it was like, oh, you're Dante's older brother, and
because he was so they are polar opposites. He's very he's an introvert, and his brother is an extreme extrovert. So people were like, "Oh, you are Dante's older brother," versus, "Oh, you're Dayon's younger brother." So, I was gonna say something. Okay, and then in high school, when he did come out, I became like the gay mother hen.
Yeah.
Because then all his friends would call him. Can you ask Mama Treya to call me? I want to talk to Mama Treya because I have a question. Like, when did I become the gay mother hen? Like, when did all your friends decide they want to come out to me? Which I absolutely love because, like I said, when I was questioning who I was in high school, I didn't have anybody to talk to. So to be able to be an ear to these young people who, were coming out. What are you laughing at me? And they wanted to have somebody to talk to. I'm glad that they found a safe space with me to have conversations with. And not once did I ever tell them, go home and tell your parents who you were. Because we all know and have had experience and know people who, when they did go home and tell their parents who they were put out of their homes. And had to do what they had to do to survive. So I did not want to make that announcement of, well, go home and tell your mother who you are. It was always, what's your mother's temperament? Are there gay people in your family? Do you have a good relationship with your mother? And things like that. So I think I inherited three additional gay children, 2 boys and a girl. But it was cool. Like I said, just having them just to be able to call or just come over. And they would call me at work on my work phone. I don't even know how one of your friends got my work number.
One of my phones?
Kyrie.
Oh,
How you got my work phone, but my work phone, and but nonetheless, he called me and we had a conversation, and it was just, we just had a rainbow household, and it just cultivated rainbow kids. So, I know for me, with him coming out, I was never afraid of him being gay. I was afraid of how other people, and not worried, but afraid, because like he said, there's a community of people who don't accept gay black men. So my fear as a mother was if somebody tried to do something to my child. So there's been times where we've got taken the train together, and remember when you had nails, you had tips. We would ride the metro together. We got on the train one day, and there were these guys sitting across from us, and they kind of were looking at him funny. And Mama Bear kicked in, and I'm looking back at them funny because this is my child. I don't care how old he is. He's always gonna be my child, my baby, and you're not gonna say anything to him, and you damn sure ain't gonna do nothing to him in my presence. So that was my biggest fear. I'm just grateful that that fear has not been realized. But even at his age, he just turned 25 on Monday. I still have a fear of him, something happening to him, because of the temperament, the temperature of where we are in this country. He is not masculine. He's not ever been. He's always been effeminate in his ways, and he doesn't hide that. He is who he is, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of people. There's a small cluster of people who are threatened by that. So as a mother, my go-to is always to want to protect him. So I'm glad that you find a safe space here with us and Umi. That you've always found a safe space in our relationship to be able to speak your truth and say what you need to say, and more important than anything else, accept who you are, because people aren't going to accept you if you don't accept yourself. So just accepting who you are in every aspect, every hand that has been dealt to you, you've received it and you've accepted it. So continue to do that. You make me proud. I'm proud to be your mama. No, Nene, we don't need you to do that. No. You have any other questions? Does anybody have any other questions before we stop taking up all of your time?
no.
No, you good?
No.
You good? Everybody else good? Tonight's wine, I forgot that, was Robert Mondavi's Pinot Grigio. That's my wine for tonight. He's not drinking wine.
Yeah, I'm not drinking.
He had wine for his birthday, but yeah. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in on our different social media platforms. We appreciate it. I'm honored to have him as my first guest on here. So the next episode is going to be not next week, the week after. I don't have my calendar in front of me. The 27th, October 27th, in which we will discuss menopause. Yeah. We will be discussing menopause, the P word. Just real quick, Dante, I'll get you next month, Dante. So the 21-day journal challenge is still going on. Thank you, everybody who is participating. We are almost done. We got one more week to go. Today's journal challenge was kind of easy. The 30 things that make you smile. That make you smile. So I actually wrote like 34, 35 things, I think. Write to your heart's content. I will post tomorrow's prompt tonight at about 10. And I will see you guys back on the 27th for our next Wind Down Wednesday. We will be talking menopause again. With that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate the time that you have taken to sit here with us and listen to us just gab. And on that note, we'll talk to you later. Be blessed. Bye.